I'm calling to order this hearing. This is a public hearing of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. Today is Monday, May 23rd, 2025. The time is 4:20 in the afternoon, and this hearing is being held in room 412 of the Johnny Wilson Building. The subject of this hearing is consideration of Bill 26-223, entitled the John R. Thompson Jr. High School Designation Act of 2025. This legislation was introduced by Councilmember Matt Fruman, co-introduced by Councilmembers Felder, Henderson, McDuffie, Robert White, Louis George, and myself. And it was introduced on April 8th of this year. The stated purpose of this bill is to officially designate the school in lot 899 in square 1356, bounded by MacArthur Boulevard, Q Street, Clark Place, and Laverock Place, all in Northwest, as John R. Thompson Jr. High School. Currently, the school has no official name, but is commonly called MacArthur High School. Since its founding, the school community, including students, parents, teachers, non-instructional school staff, and nearby residents, have discussed a permanent name for the school. The community recently agreed John R. Thompson Jr., a native Washingtonian and renowned basketball player, coach, teacher, and advocate, as an appropriate representative of the school's mission, and partnered with with council members to introduce Bill 26-223 to name the school after him. The record in this matter will close at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, May 27th, 2025, which is 2 weeks from today. It actually might be 2 weeks and a day from today. With that, I'm going to turn to my colleague, Councilmember Matt Fruman, to see if you have an introductory statement.
Thank you very much, Chairman Mendelson. I do. I was delighted to introduce B 260223, the John R. Thompson Jr. High School Designation Act of 2025, which would provide an official designation for the District of Columbia's newest public high school, which opened in 2023, located in the Palisades neighborhood in Ward 3. Since planning for the school began, the school community has been discussing a permanent name to replace a temporary placeholder, and they recently selected John R. Thompson Jr. as an appropriate representative of the school. I want to especially thank Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner J.P. Simkowitz, who has family representatives here who will be testifying, who's been carrying the torch for this name for some time. J.P. has been a passionate advocate, pointing to the legacy of John Thompson and how appropriate it will be for this new school. As a youth, Thompson overcame learning challenges with the help of influential teachers in the classrooms at DC public schools, as well as community mentors at the local boys club, now the Boys and Girls Club, and went on to earn a scholarship to John Carroll High School, where he won 3 city championships and was named a Parade All-American. Thompson graduated from high school in 1960 and received a scholarship to attend Providence College in Rhode Island, where upon graduation with his degree in economics in 1964, he was also the Friars' all-time leading scorer, and the Student Congress named him Most Outstanding Senior. He then was drafted by the Boston Celtics, where he played 2 seasons and won 2 championships. Rather than continuing with professional basketball, John Thompson felt his calling was to be a teacher, to help young people the same way his role models helped him. He moved back to DC in 1966 and earned a master's degree in counseling and guidance from Federal City College, now the University of the District of Columbia, and worked with the college's Center for 4-H and Youth Development. He became a guidance counselor and a head basketball coach at St. Anthony's High School in Northeast DC. He always envisioned himself as a teacher first and sought to use basketball as an instrument to broaden his players' perspective of the world and of themselves. During his 6 years, St. Anthony's won 122 games and recorded only 28 losses, and Thompson helped many of his players get college scholarships and emphasized developing players' minds and character along with their athletic abilities. Thompson was hired as head coach of Georgetown University in 1972, and over the next 27 seasons, he led the previously unsuccessful program to 7 Big East Conference regular season titles, 6 Big East tournament championships, and in 1984, he became the first Black coach to win an NCAA Men's Division I National Basketball Championship. John Thompson's achievements on the court are too many in number to list here today, but he is most revered for his focus on the lives of his student athletes away from athletics. Thompson was a strong protector and advocate for his student athletes, as shown by his successful protest of NCAA rules to limit student athletes eligible for scholarships, or his stern in-person warning to a local drug pin to stay away from his players. He was focused on developing young people psychologically, what he called the game behind the game, encouraging his players to develop their capacity to think and excel in challenging situations, and how to represent themselves with confidence. Thompson was famously dedicated practice time to discussion of current affairs and was known for demanding academic excellence from his players. 97% of his players who stayed 4 years graduated. Thompson titled his autobiography, I Came as a Shadow, in reference to a quote from Louis Alexander's poem, Nocturne Varial, that begins, I came as a shadow, I stand now a light. I hope John Thompson's name can stand as a light that provides hope and motivation to students at this emerging, excellent public high school in his hometown, the District of Columbia. I am delighted to put forward this legislation and look forward to hearing the testimony today.
Thank you, Councilmember. Let me call witnesses, see who's here, who's virtual. Robert Vincent Branham. JP Simkowitz, who is an ANC commissioner. Reverend Mark Thompson. Dr. Harold McCrae, who is the school principal. And Corey Peterson. Hearing notice said 3 minutes for testimony, but given the number of witnesses, we'll be lenient with that. So let me see, Mr. Branham is not here. And somebody is sitting in for Commissioner Simkowitz. Why don't you proceed? I have to turn the microphone on.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Mendelson, Council Chair Fruman, and the members of the Council of the District of Columbia. My name is Lucia Simkowitz. I am in 10th grade at Georgetown Visitation Preparatory School, and I am a student athlete. I am a parishioner of Holy Trinity Church, where I went to school from pre-K through 8th grade. I have spent my entire life in the neighborhood surrounding the Georgetown University campus. Because he is traveling, my uncle JP Simkowitz, who is the Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner for Single Member District 3D07, which includes the Foxhall area to the west of the Georgetown University campus, asked me to read a resolution passed by ANC 3D on September 20th, 2020, that requests that the District of Columbia rename the public high school on MacArthur Boulevard after Georgetown University's men's basketball coach and District of Columbia native, John R. Thompson, Jr. Here is the ANC 3D's resolution. Honoring Coach John R. Thompson Jr. by naming DCPS School after him. At a duly noticed, regularly scheduled meeting of Advisory Neighborhood Commission 3D on Wednesday, September 2nd, J.P. Simkowitz, Commissioner for Single Member District 3D09, Michael Shariki, Commissioner for Single Member District 3D04, and Jeremy Del Moral, Commissioner for Single Member District 3D10, presented a resolution requesting that District of Columbia Public Schools name one of two new DCPS facilities envisioned for the community we represent in memory of John R. Thompson, Jr., a District of Columbia native who coached Georgetown University's men's basketball team to the NCAA Division I championship in 1984 and a member of the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. Coach Thompson's accomplishments on the basketball court, while great, pale in comparison to his accomplishments as a human being. He was born in Washington, D.C. on September 2nd, 1941, and died on August 31st, 2020. He attended Archbishop Carroll High School in the Brooklyn neighborhood, where he led his basketball team to 55 consecutive victories and 2 city titles. He graduated from Providence College in Rhode Island and later played 2 seasons for the Boston Celtics, where he helped his team win 2 NBA championships. After leaving the Celtics, he returned to the city of his birth and received a master's degree in guidance and counseling from the University of the District of Columbia. He coached at St. Anthony's High School for several years before he was hired as a coach of Georgetown University's men's basketball team in 1972. While at Georgetown, Coach Thompson led his electrifying teams to 20 NCAA tournaments, 3 Final Fours, and 6 Big East tournament championships. As a mentor of student athletes, Thompson emphasized academics and the importance of a college degree, keeping a deflated basketball on his desk to remind his players that a career in basketball relied upon 9 pounds of air. Giving his players the tools to excel, both on and off the court, their primary goal was not to win games but to receive a Georgetown degree. It is no coincidence that several of his most prominent players went on to lead their peers through activism in the NBA Players Association, while another became a world-renowned humanitarian. Coach Thompson never flinched from challenging the double standard society and the college sports establishment applied to African American athletes, and was decades ahead of his time on issues of race and sports in America. He retired from coaching in 1999 and spent 12 years sharing his wit and wisdom with fellow Washingtonians through his well-loved sports radio talk show. His life was a model for making the most of one's opportunities and not shying away from the challenges of improving the lives of his fellow citizens. There are few better examples of a teacher in every sense of the word than this beloved Washingtonian. With 2 new and needed DCPS facilities slated for the area it represents, ANC 3D respectfully requests you strongly consider naming one after Coach Thompson. Steps away from the institution of higher learning he helped lift to new international prominence, this would be a fitting tribute to the coach's many accomplishments that have directly benefited residents of the District of Columbia and beyond. While satisfying all quorum requirements, Advisory Neighborhood Commission 3D voted to approve this letter and designated Commissioner J.P. Simkowitz to testify before any hearing on this issue. Sincerely yours, Chuck Elkins, Chair. Therefore, I thank the Council for allowing me to deliver this resolution and urge the Council to enact into law B-26-0223, the John R. Thompson Jr. High School Designation Act of 2025.
Thank you. I don't know if we have a copy of that. Can you get back to your uncle, who's the commissioner? Tell him that we need to make sure we have a copy. And your first name again is
Lucia.
Lucia,
Yes.
and your last name is Simkowitz.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend Thompson, it's good to see you.
Good to see you again, and good to see the council as well. It's good to be back in the city of my birth and the home of my 3 alma maters, and back on the site of the battlefield for DC statehood, a struggle to which I've devoted more than 30 years of my life. And though I may now reside in New York, Mr. Chair, my devotion to the struggle for DC statehood is unwavering and irrevocable. I will always be on call for you, our state government in exile, until our hands are full of victory in a state of our own. In exchange for my devotion to our cause for decolonization, I am here to ask the council to do something I ask of you, and that is to name this new facility the John R. Thompson Jr. High School. While a student at Georgetown, I served as coach's manager for the Hoyas from 1986 to 1988. Coach Thompson, an alum of Archbishop Carroll, an alum of UDC, an alum of the Boys and Girls Club, and an alum of the beloved Black Tops of our city. Coach Thompson embodies DC as much as Go-Go, as much as Chuck Brown, as much as Ben Shillabo. He is as important a historical figure to DC as is Carter G. Woodson and Mary McLeod Bethune, Frederick Douglass, Duke Ellington, Paul Laurence Dunbar, and Marvin Gaye. When Jesus walked the earth, people asked what good could come out of Nazareth. Nazareth was a lot like Washington, D.C. Coach Thompson showed us what good could come out of our city. And he brought out the best of us who were in his classrooms. He never called his spaces gyms. He always called them classrooms. He gave many of us young people opportunities to dream for and to strive for. When it was asked of us too, what good can come out of this Nazareth of ours, we had an answer because he had given it to us. He made a difference. He gave us presence as African Americans in NCAA basketball, Olympic basketball, and in Georgetown University itself. Most, especially those outside of DC, thought Georgetown was in fact an HBCU. It's interesting now as we discuss the lineage of the new hope, the lineage of Georgetown's most influential president, Patrick Healy, was not revealed until 100 years after his presidency, around the time of Coach's first Final Four. So in a century, Georgetown went from Patrick Healy passing for white to Coach Thompson, enabling Georgetown to pass for an HBCU. No one embodies DC more than Coach Thompson. He's one of the very few to win the National High School Championship, National College Championship, Olympic Championships, and an NBA championship. And he accomplished these honors coming out of the Boys and Girls Club here in Washington, D.C. When he won his championships, he never became so lofty that he couldn't go back and help the Boys and Girls Club. What Coach did in 1982 in his Final Four was step into a vacuum of leadership and identity, and he instilled pride and confidence in us all. And so after that Final Four, we started to wear the Georgetown starter jackets. Before that, the most popular jackets Black men had ever worn were the Green Army jackets we brought home from the Vietnam War. Whereas the Vietnam jackets didn't win social justice for Black men, despite having served in the war, the Georgetown jackets did elicit respect for whoever wore them. Sports will always be the greatest common denominator. The stirring image of Coach at the Final Four in 1982 was something that we will never forget. It is fitting and providential. I believe this bill was introduced on April 8th, an historic day in history, the day that Hank Aaron broke the record for 714. 714 was Coach Thompson's winning percentage. And these were two men who were very close to each other and very close to me. I think I speak on behalf of the young women and men who were in his classrooms, that we would make ourselves available to this next generation, to pour out to this next generation of students what Coach poured into us, and to teach them the lesson that Coach Thompson taught all of us. What will we do when the air goes out of the basketball? I pray this council passes this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Thompson. I don't think we have a copy of your statement, if you could provide
I
that.
will. I certainly will.
Great, thank you. Dr. McCray.
Oh.
Chairman Mendelson, council members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Dr. Harold McCray, and I'm the proud principal of the hopefully soon-to-be John R. Thompson Junior High School located in Ward 3. I have been an educator for over 20 years, with the last 6 being in DC public schools. Prior to becoming the principal of MacArthur High School, I was the principal of Stanton Elementary. I was honored to be selected as the founding principal of MacArthur High School. Not many can say that they built the school from the ground up, being able to create a culture and setting the tone for students and staff alike while navigating a construction project. I am proud of everything we've accomplished in our first 2 years. We continue to prioritize a sense of belonging for students, families, and staff. This also extends to the broader community as we are continually working with them to ensure we are seamlessly fitting into the neighborhood. Our school stands out specifically because of the programming we have built. We are proud of our rich academic offerings. We only offer honors, pre-AP, and AP classes to ensure that all of our students are engaged in rigorous coursework, and we have various systems of student support to help every scholar achieve success. I wanted to briefly explain how the name John Thompson Jr. was selected. Before I begin my role as principal, the MacArthur Community Working Group had compiled a list of names that they collected from engagement from the community. From there, we narrowed the list down to the most popular ones that met the DC municipal regulations for building names, and we were not duplicative of other schools. We then left it up to the students to vote. We then left it up to a vote. During student advisory, we shared the final 4 names with our student body. Teachers, courtesy of our librarian, also provided a biography or background information about each option. We then gave students an online survey to cast their vote. We also provided the same information and survey to our families and staff members to voice their opinions as well. While participation was not mandatory, we made sure to remind the community to use their voice to help determine the future identity of our school. Once the voting period closed a week later, it was clear that the community wanted John R. Thompson Jr. to be our namesake. I am thrilled with the selection of John Thompson Jr., as he is embodiment of our school's values of believe, belong, and become. Since John Thompson Jr. was a native Washingtonian, a dedicated educator, renowned coach, community pioneer, and lifelong student mentor and advocate, naming our school after this local legend is meaningful on so many levels. He was a powerful reminder of the strength in persevering through adversity to find great success, something we know our students who come from a variety of backgrounds can find inspiration in. We aspire to build on his legacy, and I am thrilled for our students and school community to move into this next chapter with a new school identity they selected themselves. Thank you for the opportunity to testify about this exciting development for our school community, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. McCray. And Corey Peterson?
Chairman Mendelson, Councilmember Fruman, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Corey Peterson, and I serve as the Associate Vice President for Community Engagement for Georgetown University. I appreciate the opportunity to read into the record the university statement by Eric Smolson, Vice President for Public Affairs and Senior Advisor to the President. It is both a privilege and an honor to submit a written statement in strong support of the John R. Thompson Jr. High School Designation Act of 2025. My name is Eric Smolson, and I serve as Vice President for Public Affairs and Senior Advisor to the President at Georgetown. I had the privilege of working with and knowing Coach Thompson and his family for many years. This important legislation helps honor a man whose legacy has profoundly impacted education, athletics, civil rights, and the broader DC community. Coach John R. Thompson Jr. was far more than a Hall of Fame basketball coach. He was a trailblazer, an educator, a civil rights advocate, and a mentor whose influence reached far beyond the basketball court. As Georgetown University's first Black head men's basketball coach, he transformed a struggling program into a national powerhouse, culminating in the 1984 NCAA championship. But his greatest victories were not measured in wins and losses. They were measured in lives uplifted, in barriers broken, and in the values he instilled. Coach Thompson achieved a 97% graduation rate for his players, a staggering accomplishment in collegiate athletics. He instilled in his players a deep respect for education, character, and responsibility. Further legends like Patrick Ewing, Dikembe Mutombo, Alonzo Mourning, and Allen Iverson were not just coached, they were mentored, guided, and held to high standards both on and off the court. In the words of Coach Ewing, "He has done so much to impact my life. He changed the world and helped shape the way we see it." But Coach Thompson was not only a coach, he was a powerful voice for justice. In 1989, he walked off the court in protest of NCAA Proposition 42, which disproportionately harmed low-income and minority students by cutting off access to educational funding. His public stand led to the proposition being dropped. He didn't coach young men, he fought for their futures. His leadership extended beyond Georgetown. He was the first Black coach to win an NCAA championship, and he was a mentor to countless players and coaches. He founded a charitable foundation to support underserved youth, and he shaped the Big East Conference and served on Olympic coaching staffs. And he never stopped pushing institutions and individuals to live up to their values. In 2017, Georgetown honored him with naming of the John R. Thompson Jr. Intercollegiate Athletic Center, where a bronze statue of him stands with the quote, "When I'm gone, if I can't go to heaven, take me back to Georgetown." Today, we have an opportunity to extend that sentiment by naming a school just 1 mile from Georgetown's campus after him. We ensure his name and legacy continue to inspire the next generation of leaders. Naming a high school after Coach Thompson sends a clear message to the students of the District of Columbia that leadership, integrity, and a commitment to justice matter. That it's not just about being great at what you do, it's about using that platform to uplift others. Coach Thompson lived that truth every day. Jack DeGioia, who served as Georgetown's president from 2001 to 2024, and who was a dear friend of Coach Thompson for close to 50 years, said, and I quote, "We are a better university because of John's leadership. He challenged us to live up to our values and enabled us, all of us, to see new possibilities for ourselves and for the impact we could have on the world. John will be remembered for many things: his historic achievements, the lives he shaped, his advocacy for social and racial justice, but perhaps most of all for the authenticity through which he lived his life," end quote. On behalf of Georgetown University, I urge you to pass the John R. Thompson Jr. High School Designation Act. It's a fitting tribute to a man who gave so much to this city, to this nation, and to the values we hold dear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. For all of you, except Dr. McCray, please, we would like copies of your statements. I just think I have a couple of questions for Dr. McCray, because you're the principal. You did speak to the voting and the surveying of the students and parents. Was there any controversy around this process?
None at all.
And have you had any interaction with the Thompson family?
Not yet.
And that sounds like a hopeful answer.
Yes.
And do you have any sense of timing, how quickly we should act?
As quick as possible, if possible.
This is a less important question, but the school team or the school mascot is known as the Mammoths.
Yes.
Do you think that stays with the name John Thompson?
I think it opens up a discussion for us as we move forward with building the school. Once we want to get the name first and then kind of, have that conversation with the school community, his family, to determine that.
Let me see, Councilmember Freeman, do you have any questions?
Yes, maybe more in the realm of comments. I think this feels like a family affair. It's wonderful, Lucia. Thank you very much for coming forward with that well-delivered testimony. It's also particularly fun to see a beaming mother off to the left while you're testifying. And your other members of your family. This is also about the Georgetown family. It's also about the District of Columbia family, Reverend Thompson, with your wonderful testimony. We have been in close contact with the Thompson family. The Thompson family is so pleased with these developments. They were not able to make it today, but we're going to find a way where when we celebrate this as a done thing, that the Thompson family will absolutely be a critical part of that. I do think hearing all of the comments about Coach Thompson, and Reverend Thompson, your testimony was moving. Thank you. It does fit for this school, and Principal McCray, I just have to say, building it from the ground up. Chairman Mendelson, you may recall the summer before the school opened, we went and toured in July. And I looked around and thought, holy cow, how is this going to happen? And you said, no, it's all going to be good. And of course, it did open on time. And Principal McCray, the job that you have done in these last 2 years to launch this institution is really something to be marveled at. You just have done a great job. And you've brought to it, every time I visit the school and see the way in which you interact with kids, it puts me in the mind of the way that Coach Thompson is described as somebody who really cares about these kids in so many different ways. And so the idea that as we launch this new school, an enormous project from the ground up with all of the construction, everything that you've done is flying the airplane while you're building it, that we will imbue it with the spirit of John Thompson through the name, and with your incredible work, it has to succeed. So thank you very, very much for that. Looking forward to the ribbon cutting with all of the families here and including the Thompson family. So thank you all for your testimony.
Thank you, Councilmember. I don't have any other questions for you. Your testimony has been very helpful, so thank you very much. So we'll turn now to Abraham Clayman, who is the Deputy Chief Intergovernmental Affairs at DC Public Schools. When you're ready, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson, council members, and members of the public. I'm Abe Clayman, the Deputy Chief of Intergovernmental Affairs at the District of Columbia Public Schools. Over the past 15 years, I've been a teacher, principal, and worked in a variety of roles supporting educators. I was born in DC, grew up in the region, and I'm a Ward 4 resident. I'm married to a DCPS teacher, and our 2 children attend DCPS. I care deeply about the work of our public schools. In my role, I support interactions with the DC Council and the State Board of Education. One part of my job is advising school communities about the legislative process when they want their school formally named or renamed. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on the John R. Thompson Jr. High School Designation Act of 2025. DCPS enthusiastically supports the school community's selection of famed Georgetown coach and community leader John Thompson as the school's namesake. A DC native, community champion, and education advocate, John Thompson represents the values of the school and the broader DCPS community. Thank you to the students, educators, staff, parents, and community members who worked to arrive at a choice for a name. Thank you, Chairman Mendelson, Councilmember Fruman, and your staff for your work to advance the legislation and for holding this hearing today. The DC Council is entrusted with the responsibility of naming public buildings, including schools, and this naming would not be possible without your support. Since its founding, the school community has been discussing a permanent name. They went through an extensive engagement process, from soliciting potential names during the community working group, narrowing that list, speaking with students, and holding a final vote. We are glad that the community, students, families, educators, and staff played such an active role in determining the future identity of their school. On behalf of DCPS, we support the selection of a name, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Clayman. Few questions. Do you know what the cost will be for this naming?
That's a good question, and any naming has some degree of cost. We're working right now with the Department of General Services and our facilities team to understand exactly any numbers around the cost. We're optimistic that that cost can be completed as part of the modernization, that anything that we would have to do is not so much name dependent, but we'll have a firm answer when this moves to markup.
So you're optimistic the cost can be absorbed.
That's correct.
Do you know what it costs to rename Tyler Elementary School?
I do not.
Of any of the schools we've recently named?
Well, I think I would draw a distinction with schools that are undergoing a modernization, and as compared to schools that are not. And so with Tyler moving to Shirley Chisholm, there was some temporary work that was done, but there's also going to be, I think, more extensive work that's done as part of the modernization. So it does vary. I understand that Jackson Reed was more expensive, and I think in the order of about $1 million. So I think it can be quite expensive. But again, that was a school that was not undergoing a modernization or an expansion like this school is. So I'm optimistic that we can absorb that within the existing budget.
So if we are, well, I should ask you timing. Are there timing concerns for how soon we act?
We would appreciate it if this designation was law, so completed the full legislative process and was actually law by the end of the calendar year. That would allow us to have the school be formally named and updated in our systems and referred to by its new name by the start of the 2026-2027 school year. So essentially 6 to 9 months after the end of this year.
Okay.
And I should add that that is when the current construction project, the addition, is slated to be completed in the summer of 2026. And so that timing, that would line up well with that timing.
Have you had any, when I say you, I mean you or DC Central had any conversations or interaction with the Thompson family?
We have not, but I've heard from Councilmember Fruman that there's interest, and we would certainly be happy to talk to them about any sort of interest they have or partnership that they want to have. I mean, we're very supportive of the name and his legacy.
He's the guy to talk to. He apparently has been having conversations.
That's what I'm hearing.
Does DCPS have any concern about multiple names with a variation on Thompson? I'm thinking there's John Strong Thompson Elementary School, there's Neville Thomas, and there's been talk about, although nothing's happened here, about the former Banneker School on Euclid Street being named after Alma Thomas. That has not happened, but any concern with multiple names with a variation on Thompson?
We do not have a concern about that.
Let me turn to my colleague. Councilmember Fruman, do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. No questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Clayman. I will say, in terms of potential cost, the front of the school is going to be constructed. And so there's going to need to be a sign. So whereas in another place you might have to replace a sign, I think in this case, the question is what letters go on the sign that's already built into the budget. I do hear you. Also, I don't know, I guess a question how you would deal with it in the school lottery process. Is it that you want us to change the name so the new name can appear in the school lottery in the coming year, which would, again, go to by the end of the calendar year would achieve that? Or do you want to keep how do you want to deal with this through the lottery?
If I may, I just want to echo what you said in terms of the cost. Our understandings are the same, that it's ultimately about determining what the name will be. And so that should not be a concern. I think when I say we're optimistic, we want to make sure we're dotting all of our I's and crossing all of our T's and looking across the entire building and making sure we're not missing anything. But to your question about the lottery, it's both from an enrollment perspective and also from a facilities perspective that 9 months or more of lead time and prior to the spring lottery allows us to clearly communicate what was formerly MacArthur High School would now hopefully be John Thompson High School, and it allows our facilities team to make sure that they can procure anything they need to procure. So.
All right, wonderful. Well, I'll just offer, and to the Thompson family that may be watching, if we go down this path, my hope is ribbon cutting in August of 2026, and that's where we can celebrate this new name and this new school and all of the people who are making it into a great institution for the District of Columbia and our young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I do not have any other questions for you, and we have a copy of your statement. Thank you for that. I must say I've sat through a few of these school naming hearings. I'm remembering Jackson Reed. I think we actually had 2 hearings to deal with that. So this is quite different. Thank you for your testimony. Thank all of the witnesses for their testimony. As I indicated before, the record will be open for a little over 2 weeks. That is, it will close at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, May 27th. And I say that because if anybody wishes to submit statements for the record, and usually we attach those to the committee report, so they're part of the legislation moving through the council. You have 2 weeks to do that. Again, thank you to everybody. The time is 5.